Hello, I'm Susanna, and this is another story by Joyce Lankester Brisley from her book The Adventures of Purl and Plain, a book that was published in 1941. And for those of you familiar with Millie Molly Mandy, you'll know Joyce Lankester Brisley because she is the same author. So I hope you enjoyed this story.
Once upon a time, Purl and Plain were sitting looking round the nursery with their painted blue eyes, wondering. They were feeling adventurous again, but it was a very rainy day, so they couldn't possibly go out.
"I suppose exploring adventures always has to be done out of doors, haven't they, Plain?" said Purl. "Of course they don't, Purl," said Plain, getting an idea on the spot. "We can explore up in the attic." "There aren't any yowling wild animals there," said Purl. "Ah, but there are things that squeak, and enormous, great big, black, hairy, long-legged—" "Oh, what, Plain?" breathed Purl, clapping her arms together excitedly. "Spiders," said Plain. "Come on, let's go."
So tying up their shawls, the little scent bottle full of water, and a piece of dry biscuit, which is always important to have on adventures, they set off. They had to climb up the mountains of stairs, which was very thirsty work, and they took many sips from their water bottle before they reached the top.
They heard the rain drumming on the little landing window and gurgling in the gutters outside and making a steady roar on the roof overhead. It was an exciting sort of sound and made Purl and Plain feel very adventurous as they marched forward into the dark, dusty-smelling attic. It was a mysterious sort of place, with the ceiling sloping right down to the floor each side, like a tent, and all sorts of odd boxes and bundles and bits of furniture and things in it. And there was a big tank in a corner by the door, making queer little trickly noises to itself. "Ooh," whispered Purl, stopping. "What's it doing that for?" "That's part of the adventure," Plain whispered back. "You never know what's going to happen, and there may be mice and all sorts of things watching us too." said Purl. "What do we do if we meet a mouse?" "Jump up on something quick. That's the proper thing to do if you meet mice," said Plain, leading the way boldly. "Come on, let's climb these boxes. There may be treasure in some of them." So they stumped across the floor and began clambering over things busily. There's a lovely smell here, rather like cheese," said Purl presently. "Oh, I'd like a piece of cheese to eat with our biscuit, wouldn't you? I'm so hungry." She poked about to find it. Presently, Plain let out a great squeak. Purl thought it was a mouse, and she jumped up on top of an old trunk in a hurry. But Plain stayed below. She was leaping about on one leg, squeaking and making a great clattering noise. "Oh, it has got me! Help! It is biting me!" she squealed. Purl dashed to her rescue bravely. She slid down the shiny trunk, landing right on top of her. Poor Plain! She thought two wild animals were attacking her at once. But Purl suddenly called out, "Plain, it's only a mousetrap biting you, look." Plain had stepped right into the mousetrap while helping to look for the cheese. As soon as she saw what had happened, she sat smiling happily while Purl opened the trap and let her foot out. It had only scraped off a bit of her white paint stocking, and that didn't matter. Then they took the cheese rind out of the mousetrap and ate it with their dry biscuit and found it very nice. "Come on now," said Plain. "We haven't found any treasure yet. Let's try exploring the other side." So they started to rummage about the boxes and pots and things there. Presently, Purl pushed the lid off a big can and peeped in. "Oh, Plain," she said. "This looks as if it's got cream in it. I must have a little taste." She leaned over the side of the can as far as she could, but she just couldn't reach down to the cream. Then she leaned over a little further still, and wow! She had gone in head first, and only her wildly waving legs showed over the edge of the can.
Plain rushed over and hauled her out by the feet. What a sight! It wasn't cream at all. It was paint, and Purl had got it all over her head so that you could hardly have told which was front and which was back, except for a little bump that was her wooden nose.
Plain scrubbed her with a piece of newspaper from a pile, but she still looked awfully smeary. "We must go down to the bathroom and wash you," said Plain at last, and she dragged Purl to the door.
Just as they got there, the water tank in the corner gave a sudden loud gurgle, which made the two dolls jump so much that they went down the stairs faster than they meant to. And being made of wood and the attic stairs uncarpeted, there was such a clatter that a great big nurse opened her door to see what had happened.
They kept very still, and she only said loudly, "Oh, it's you two, is it?" and shut the door again. And the pair crept on down to the bathroom. There, Plain scrubbed Purl with a nail brush and much soap, and then Purl rubbed herself with a flannel, and between them they got her clean. But oh dear me, when they rinsed the lather off, her face was almost gone too. That is, all except her pointed wooden nose. "Goodness me, this is an adventure," said Purl, staring at her. "I know. We must go back to the nursery and paint you." So she pulled Purl to the nursery and set her by the fire to dry off, while she got out the paint box out of the cupboard and poured some water out of the flower vase into the cat's empty saucer. And then she set to work on Purl. And when she had done, you should have seen what a fine job was made of her face. Purl was almost prettier than she had been before, with her blue eyes and red cheeks and black hair.
Plain looked at her, and then she looked at her own face in the mirror, and then she looked at the paintbrush in her hand, and then she began to touch herself up. When she turned round, she had her long black eyelashes and a rosebud mouth.
Said Purl, horrified. "You can't go out like that. You don't look like yourself." "Well, I think it's rather nice," said Plain. "I like a change." She looked at her reflection this way and that in the mirror. Purl moved the saucer of paint water just a very little bit. When Plain turned round again, she stepped on the edge of the saucer and sent a fine splash right up all over herself. Purl seized her shawl and ran forward to dry her twin. She rubbed her head very carefully all over. "Take care of my face," cried Plain. "I will," said Purl firmly. "Now there now, your eyelashes have come all over my shawl and spoilt it. But it's only watercolour, so it will wash." "Well, well," sighed Plain. "What adventures we do have, to be sure." "Yes, we do," agreed Purl. "Well, there's one we didn't have, though. We never saw a single spider." "Well, we can't have everything at once," said Plain.